Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I have Zack Carter here with me again. And today, Zack's been on the podcast before, but we want to really hone in today and talk about some coaching concepts that can be really important if you're looking to be successful on this journey. So before we do that, welcome back, Zack, and maybe you could tell people briefly about your background.
Hey, thanks for having me back. Yeah, in case you missed the last podcast where I kind of did it more in depth, a little background for me. I was addicted to pornography at about the age 14, and I'd been addicted for about 14, 15 years. And I'd spent a lot of time trying to get away from it, found out a lot of techniques, but finally over the last few years, been able to really hone in, find some ways to get out of it. I'm also a grad student right now at VCU studying counseling. And so when I found out about Dr. Leigh, we got connected and I've been hanging out with her and we've been getting to know each other. It's been great.
Yeah, great. Cool. Thank you for sharing that because I think that's really important to frame for people, especially in coaching. And we've talked about it before where, being able to know how to help people through recovery is really important, but also to understand the inner workings of addiction and how that shows up in your life. And if you haven't experienced that, firsthand or practically firsthand, like we have, you can't understand that. So that's huge that you bring that to the table to be able to move people through it. So, all right. So what we're going to talk about today, and we're going to stay focused because we like to chat too, is we are going to talk about the biggest mindset shift that people need to be able to be successful in this journey, because that's what we are here for. We are here to help you be successful. So what do you think? Do you have a first point that you wanted to dive in? Mindset shift.
Right. So I think the first one is that people think they're alone in this. And they don't have to be. You don't have to be alone in this. And this is like many addictions, it causes you to kind of retreat into yourself and get away from people. But one of the things that we're here to help you do is to kind of come out to share the things that you find shameful. And what you're going to find is you're going to find no judgment. You're going to find people that want to help you. We're going to get you connected to other people socially. And we're also going to help you grow your knowledge base and encourage you to come out of this addiction and to live the best life that you can live.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you would think that we planned this because yesterday I recorded a video for YouTube that's coming out next week. That is called You Are Not Alone. You are not alone to quit porn. And I focused exactly on that concept that when you get stuck into this porn habit, it's one of isolation. And so your brain gets stuck in this loop where it goes back to isolation to feel good. And you accidentally neurologically link your brain to isolation and pleasure. And so then a really big part of being successful is breaking that link to the screen, coming out of it and reteaching your brain, rewiring your brain to connect. And that's exactly, I kind of honed in on more of that in the video. So I love that that is what you just said. And just one more thing too, is that the program that we offer is based on something called integration theory. And I know people love this about the digital program and the way we offer coaching. Integration theory says we teach you the why and the how. So we don't just say, do this. We say, do this because you will understand the whys behind everything we encourage you to do. And if you do them and you increase your knowledge base, that is the recipe for success. So that's really cool. Very cool.
Right. I'll say one last thing and then I'll be done, I swear.
Sure.
I was listening to this interview with Kasparov, the old Russian chess master. And he was saying that you can't compare the chess masters of today to the chess masters of the past. Why? Because the chess masters of today were able to build upon what came before them. I had to do this by myself for 15 years and try to figure it out by myself. You guys don't have to do that.
I know. I love
Dr. Leigh and I are here and we have the experience of how to get out of it. So you don't have to take 15 years like me. we can shrink that down a lot if you do the things that we've been telling you to do. Seriously, you can do it.
Absolutely. I love that. It used to be on my website. I took it off, where I'm like, I struggled through this stuff, figuring it out for years. You don't have to. All you have to do is jump into it. And, there was a lot of pain. There was anguish. There was hours and hours spent, tons of money dedicated. I didn't teach myself this. I studied under we were just talking about this, off microphone, that I studied under some of the most foundational forefathers in the area of sex addiction. I spent time, energy, and money doing it. And after I did all of that, I put it into this program, plus the 25 years of neuroscience and cognitive science before that. So that is why I'm so excited to bring it to people, because it's like, learn from us. We've been there.
Right.
We've
Right.
been in
Don't
the
figure it out
trenches.
yourself. You don't have to figure it out yourself. We got
come
you.
out of the
We can help you.
come out of the trenches for sure. Okay, cool. What about, we have 3 things that we were going to share with people. So that was number 1. What about number 2?
Number 2 is that I think you need to shift your mindset to not think it's a sprint and think it's a marathon. A lot of guys carry around this regret and this shame. And one of the things that you have to learn is you got to let that go. You got to say, okay, I stumbled again. What are the aspects that caused me to stumble again? And when you're thinking through that, it does become a marathon. You're like, look, I'm trying to get mile 26, right? If I have to walk, if I have to run sometimes, if I have to stumble and sit down. I actually ran a marathon once.
You did?
Not to get off. Yes. I had an elderly woman pass me. You know how shameful it feels to have it. But you know what? It doesn't matter, because I walked and ran and crawled if I had to get there. That's what this addiction looks like.
That's amazing.
You have to do whatever you have to do. And sometimes you're going to take a couple steps back. Okay, that's fine.
Yes, sweet.
We're going to work with you to get there. But yeah, you can't keep beating yourself up.
Sweet.
Think of it in the long term, and then each time use the things that you're learning and actually implement them.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. My sister one time, it was a 5K. My sister one time was behind the ambulance. Like, the ambulance people were encouraging her. It was a 5K, not a marathon.
Yeah.
And we still laugh about the time that must have been one of her first 5Ks, because she became a pretty, hardcore runner after that. And just so funny thinking about the time she was behind the ambulance, but she did it. She completed it. She didn't give up because the ambulance people were in front of her. So I love it. I think that's a great analogy. I love it. And that's why you need support. Like, I tell people that, if you decide you're going to run a marathon, you don't go for a 26.2 mile run.
Yeah. No.
You'll die. Like, most people would literally
and you'll never do it again. Yeah, you'll be done. You're like, I'm not doing this ever again.
Yeah, but if I've said it before, if you get one of those couch to 5K or couch to marathon apps, and every day you get up and you do the work, guess what? Before you know it, you're a marathoner and you've done it. So, but you got to put the work in. It's a process. It's not an event. I love it. It's a marathon.
Well, and this actually, I will say, this leads us into point number 3 for me. If you want to transition. Yeah. This is going to be a great segue. All right. So the third point is going from a mindset of I'm in this 95% to I'm in this 100%. That doesn't seem like a lot. In your head, you're like, a 95 is an A, right? And 100 is an A. So I basically got it, right? No, you're wrong. No, you need to go from 95 to 100. And that's what we're here for. So going with the marathon example again, I knew the marathon was going to be difficult. What did I do in order to ensure that I would train and that I would run? I committed. How did I commit? I bought my marathon ticket in Vancouver. That's where I went to do the marathon. It's like $120. That's a lot of money. And I spent the money. And once you do that, once you buy the plane tickets, okay, you're committed. And so you need to figure out what it takes to get you committed to be in it 100% so that you can finish the marathon, that you can actually run it and finish it. But if you don't get started, you're never going to finish the marathon, right? So you got to find a way to commit.
I love it. That's really cool. My husband did a Tough Mudder once. Do you remember those? I don't know if they're still popular, but remember when they were really popular? Yeah. And it was the same kind of experience. We went with friends to Canada, and everybody was all in on this whole thing. So he would get up every day, and with him and one of his best friends, they'd go to this park and like roll logs and do things that he never did before that. He's never done since, because he was training for this date. And then the thing is, like with coaching, what I want people to know is it's a little different than a marathon because the payoff's different. In the end. So to bring it back to coaching and why we're here, because it is impossible to coach yourself. So like when you can get the tools, but you have to generally have someone help you. So like with my husband and his friend, you know, they became kind of accountability partners. They would work out, they would keep each other in check, they would keep each other motivated to do it. The group was there to say, okay, we're all going to Canada. So, you know, you keep training because we've got this thing planned, so that you're held to the commitment that you make. But in coaching, especially when it comes to something as difficult as leaving porn behind, as it is for most people, what happens is in the coaching sessions, what we do is we give you the skills that you need forever. So like in a marathon, when you're done running a marathon, you don't continue to run 26.2 miles all the time. When you're done with a coaching program, what happens is you've internalized all that. So to be very specific and go back to integration theory, what happens is you know the why of how you got into a porn habit. You know the how of breaking all of those shackles to come out of it. Then in the end, you set this foundation for yourself that keeps you in healthy mood regulation and healthy sexuality. You know what you need to continue to do every single day. And you have markers that tell you if you're stopping to do those things. And so the red lights and the bells go off before you start going down the slippery slope. In the end, once you're done through the process, and generally this process is known to take 90 days. You know, that's what the kind of the gold standard is. So the point is, you know, in coaching, we find out what's going on with you. We help you understand it. And then we give you the action steps to move forward. Now, the coolest part is one day you show up in coaching and now you tell me, or you tell Zach, you go, okay, I realize this is happening with me. That's self-awareness. Then you say, then I did this, which means you've internalized taking new action steps, and we're validating that. So what happens is, you know, the student becomes the master. And so you have that for the rest of your life. And then of course, we want you to stay with us. So in our coaching program, we have a maintenance program also. So let me just talk real quickly about what coaching looks like. If coaching feels good to you, you can coach with us weekly, monthly, and in the end, it's quarterly. And I encourage everybody to stay in quarterly coaching sessions because, you know, every 3 months you show up and you go, I'm good. I haven't let my foundation break. I'm feeling great. This, you know, if you had a little something stressful happen that triggered an urge, we break it down, but you're like, for the most part, I'm good. And you put this little fix in place. If then 3 months later, again, there's been a major stressor. Major stressors are the things you have to watch out for in the end. And, you know, this happens all the time. Someone will come on and go, you know what? My spouse died. Major stressor. Major stressor leads you to want to go back because it's the easiest way to get dopamine. But if you know what you got to do, and if you have us to talk to, you're able to move through that stressful moment. So it's a really beautiful thing in the end. Do you have a thought to end on that? Not to throw it back to you if you don't want to, but I didn't know if you wanted to add to that.
Yeah. I mean, me having people available in my life to help me maintain is invaluable. I still go weekly, you know, and there's some weeks I skip, but I go weekly because it's something that I know. It's like, this is my goal. Like I have, you know, I've been told the whole time it's a day at a time. That's 100% right. Days turn to weeks, weeks turn to months, months turn to years. But having a day, and actually today's my day. Tonight is my group night. I have something that I'm like, okay, I got to make it to Thursday. And even if I have a week where I skip, it's like, okay, I have 2 weeks. I got to make it to that Thursday. And it's invaluable.
Absolutely. And that's why I do with my program, I do quarterly, because some people get to the point and they're like, I'm good, I'm done. And I'm like, no, don't just go back to by yourself, especially people who don't have anybody in their world who know they've been struggling with this. Because for so many people, like, you know, for you, you're talking about it openly. That makes you the 0.1%, you know what I mean? Like, and your wife knows, like, your family knows. That's a big, big difference maker. Most people are like struggling with this in isolation. They find us and they can talk to us, but we're the only ones they can talk to. And so then they move through the process and they are able to come out of the screen. But if you don't stay connected, you're really at risk for going back to it during those times of stress. So that's why I want people to stay connected with us. So that's an important thing. Okay, cool. Thank you for joining me again, Zack. So if anybody's interested in coaching with Zack, he's opening his caseload, and I'm here to tell you it's probably not going to be wide open for very long, because we do have a lot of people that are interested, and we want to make ourselves available to you if you want coaching. So if you're thinking about it, please give us a call. You can go to drtrishleigh.com. Jamie is our assistant. She is really good at figuring out what you need and being able to help you figure out frequency and, you know, what's involved. So reach out. You can also schedule a discovery session on the website where you can have 15 dedicated minutes to be able to move through to see what you really need to be successful. So, okay. Well, thanks, Zack. I appreciate it. And I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Okay,
Talk to you soon.
bye.
All right. Bye.